Good afternoon, Anant.
Good
Uh,
afternoon.
Let me start by saying that we at Vivriti are very excited to be part of the growth journey at Sun Mobility. And we thank you for taking out the time to be part of this knowledge sharing session.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much, Gautam.
Thanks, Anand. So it would be great if we can just start with you providing us insights on the Sun Mobility, the entity, as well as the journey so far. That'll set the context right.
Sure. So, Sun Mobility is synonymous with battery swapping in India. This company started some 5.5 years ago when, Chetan had just finished his stint with Mahindra, where he was the CEO of Mahindra Reva, right? And then he took a hiatus of around 1 year, and he started thinking what can be done in this space. And he had a huge background about electric mobility, right? Yeah. Chetan was the gentleman who brought in Reva, the first electric car possibly of the world, 10 years before we saw Tesla on ground, right? So with all the knowledge that he had and all the understanding of the market, I think he thought it wise at that time, and nobody knew about battery swapping in India, right? But he had some understanding what was going on outside the world. They started working on that concept, and I think Sun Mobility was born in 2017 along with Uday Khemka and Chetan Mani. They came together to make Sun Mobility, and then I think in 2019 Bosch came along as a significant partner with a lot of technology backing and all. And then in 2021, Vitol invested another $50 million, and so that's how Sun Mobility is, with four significant shareholders, so to say: Mani Group by Chetan Mani, Uday Khemka, with Sun Group, and then Bosch and Vitol, right? So we have, as of today, we have done more than 60 million kilometers. We are the largest in terms of battery swapping in India for over 5 years. Sun Mobility does swapping for all form factors. Nobody else in the world does it. You're doing battery swapping for a two-wheeler, for an e-rickshaw, for a auto rickshaw, for a loader, and soon you will also see a sub 1.5 ton category four-wheelers. So, and the same battery that goes into a two-wheeler and in an e-rickshaw or in a loader, it's the same battery. So the asset utilization is amazing, right? So it's which nobody else in the world is doing today, and the same station and the same battery. So you don't have to do anything. You just so that's how we have been able to ensure that our asset utilization, which is actually one of the key parameters of success in this industry, is that this is my asset, my battery is my asset, my station is my asset, and if I'm able to sweat it properly. So multiple form factors, and on top of that, multiple OEMs. We have integrated with 10 plus OEMs, with the likes of Piaggio, with Hero Electric, with Ampere. So when you integrate with these people, so you have multiple OEMs and multiple form factors. The number of vehicles that can actually use your service is very high, and that's how that is one of the key differentiating factors of Sun Mobility. So we have done close to, as I said, 60 million kilometers. We have more than 300 plus stations across the country today, one of the densest network. Our stations are the fastest charging stations in the world. We can charge in flat 1 hour. Right, so a single station that you see actually can be doing 200 plus swaps in a day. So just imagine, it can support 200 bikes. If it's only bikes with one battery, it can support 200 bikes in a day. In a 16-hour operation, it can support 200 bikes. Whereas a single charge point for the fixed battery vehicles, they can't do more than 12 to 15 in a day, right? And this swapping station can do more than 200 in a day, right? So, and if you put three of them together, you're talking about a full-blown, petrol station in a very small space. And we have seen, in Delhi, for example, we have Delhi NCR, we have more than 240 stations now. Every 2 kilometers, we have a station in Delhi NCR today, right? And and we are seeing that sort of uptick also. We are seeing that sort of utilization also. So, and people are latching on to battery swapping. They understand that battery swapping is actually very, it's an answer to a lot of issues that electric vehicles have? What are the key issues with electric vehicles? When you want to buy an electric vehicle today, the biggest issue is upfront cost. The cost of vehicle today is very high as compared to normalized vehicle. Then the
Right.
charging time, right? You have to charge it overnight or 4 5 hours. Then the infrastructure cost, whether you will find these charging points at all the places. And one thing that most people don't realize is the technological obsolescence that we are talking about. Right now,
Absolutely.
what do I mean by technological obsolescence is, let's say when you want to buy a electric car today. I'm just going to a different tangent, but just to understand, just to drive home the point. When you want to buy an electric car today, you are thinking, oh my God, should I buy it now or should I wait 2 3 years more? Because then the range will be 700 kilometers or 800 kilometers rather than the 300 kilometers I'm getting today. Let me
Right.
wait a bit more, because the pace of technology is so fast, Gautam, right? That you want to say, okay, let me wait for 1 more year, maybe I'll get a better one tomorrow, right? Or let's say, or people who are worried that you buy an iPhone 13 today, within 1 year it becomes obsolete because iPhone 14 is there, right? It becomes when you are spending so much time, so much money, you want to be very careful that you're getting into a technology which will be stable for some time. And the pace is so high
Absolutely.
that that's one of the key reasons why people are not switching over to electric very fast. But when you
Mm.
take the battery swapping in this thing, battery swapping actually takes the battery out of the equation. So you're
Mm.
not worried about the battery at all. You don't care that whether battery goes bad or worse, because you don't own the battery.
Right.
When the battery goes out of the equation, the upfront cost becomes significantly below, right? So you're 40 to 45% cheaper than a normal a normal electric vehicle. You're actually
Correct.
cheaper than an ICE vehicle, right?
Mm.
So your upfront cost is low. The charging points that I was talking about is something that it's much easier to put swapping stations across. They have much better utilization, right? The technological obsolescence is not there, and your TCO per kilometer is very good because your upfront cost is low, right? And you're not so it's actually 25 to 30% better with as against an ICE vehicle or a fixed battery vehicle. So all these things put together, we are seeing what we have seen in last 1.5 years is very good, very compelling economics, which is pushing all these these fleet operators and all to go for a battery swapping solution. So
Right.
we have seen a good traction. As of today, we have around 11,000 vehicles on our platform, right? And
Right.
we will be touching. So we are one of the largest in the country today with that. We are doing
Right.
almost 500,000 kilometers per day, right? By end of this year, Gautam, we will be touching 500 stations and more than 18,000 vehicles. So
Excellent.
that's the plan. It's a very deep tech company. I have around 700 people, out of which
Mm.
150 people are in R&D and engineering alone, right?
Mm.
So
Okay.
we do a lot of research on making batteries better, right? How to make a better battery, keep on doing a lot of research on how to make the entire experience of battery swapping very good. We want to be the best battery swapping company in the world, right? With the user
Yeah.
experience and all. So that's what we're working on. And with our partners like Bosch and Vitol, and we have an exclusive partnership with IOCL, where we have exclusive arrangement with across 30,000 stations in India, where
Right.
we are the only one who can set up a station at their place.
Right.
So we are, as of today, we have 66 stations on IOCL bunks across Delhi, Bangalore, and many other cities. So with good partners, we have 10 plus OEMs that we are working with Piaggio, with the Ampere, with the Hero Electric. We're working with few other very big names under NDA I can't discuss, but these are some of the biggest OEMs in the country, with Omega Seki. So with
Right.
these companies that when you're working with, we are having a very good reach, because these are the companies. When you go to a Piaggio showroom, it's Piaggio who is selling my product. I'm not selling. It's the Piaggio dealership, and thousands of
Absolutely.
Piaggio dealership across India will be selling the product. Same way with other
Right.
OEMs, these will be the companies which will be selling the product. So we have a very good channel already with the dealership network that these OEMs have, right? Because when you go there, it's the dealers who are selling our product. We are just
Wow.
after, once they buy the product, we are providing the energy as a service. And you buy the vehicle without the battery,
Okay.
and then you use the battery as you consume it.
Great
So
analogy. Great analogy, Anna. So I must say, I think the growth trajectory that you guys have seen has been phenomenal in such short time, and I think the brand is very very well known and established in the market as well. So I think that's kudos to the team, and like you rightly said, I think some of the pioneers are sitting in this team who saw this coming much before anyone else and actually
absolutely.
could deliver success at a much faster pace. That's why. So we'll slightly deep dive into the business model as we come along, but I want to take a step back and just pick your brain on the industry aspect as well, right? So given it's a booming industry, we saw just the latest report from JMK stating that the EV sales number have crossed 1 lakh and have doubled over the last year, with 93% contribution coming from the two-wheeler and the three-wheeler passage segment. And even the economic survey talks about a CAGR of close to 49% between 22 to 2030, right? So do you think that India is ready for mass adoption? We've already accepted EV, and you see these numbers to pick up as we go along.
I'm very confident and very positive on these numbers, and I personally think we actually will be beating these numbers
Oh,
because because the economics is so compelling for I think it's there are two things to it. One is there's a very good push from the government
right.
to make electrification work, both
Mhm.
for the commitment that we have given, right? Also, India needs this because of our over dependence on oil, right? So there's
Right.
a huge push from the government side. We see it on a day in day out basis, not only from the central side. When Niti Aayog is working very hard to get the battery policy out, I have never seen work at that level in the government, because if you remember, finance minister talked about battery swapping policy. She just hinted at it in February of 2022. By April of 2022, we had the draft policy out. The draft policy came out within 2 months of finance minister's announcement, and within then there were a lot of parlays going on with the industry and with Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog worked across the board with a lot of industry, with BIS, with everybody, all the stakeholders, to bring out a draft policy which came out, and it was it was a very progressive policy, the
Right.
draft policy, which took into account a lot of thinking from the industry players. It was very forward looking in terms of how it was talking about the how we will handle the waste, how will the recycling happen, what will happen to the traceability and everything. It was very forward looking and very progressive policy. And then interoperability and all were also being discussed, and then there were a lot of discussions which kept happening, and I think there were some issues which were also discussed. And finally, I think the policy should be out in next 2-3 months. But I think I kudos to the government to take this step so early in any industry stage. Battery swapping is a nascent industry as we speak today, but for the
Right.
government to come in so early to ensure that it also realizes now, Gautam, very reason when the finance minister said that battery swapping is key to EV adoption, expediting EV adoption in India, is very important, right? Because they realize that India is a very unique market, because the vehicular combination is 80 to 85% is two-wheeler, three-wheeler, as you said, right? Which is
Right.
not like what we see in the western part of the world, right? It's
Exactly.
so 80 to 85% is two-wheelers, three-wheelers, right? Which is very amenable for a battery swapping sort of a technology, right? Because a battery swapping technology is not so easy for a car, right? Because you have to have a robotic mechanism to do a battery swapping for cars and buses and trucks. It's very possible, but it's much more easy to be done in a micro mobility market, where you can do a normal 1 kilowatt hour pack is around 7 to 8 kg. So you're talking about modular form of batteries, which is very easily doable. So India is very good. And second point that many of us don't realize is India is home to the world's biggest OEMs when it comes to two-wheelers and three-wheelers,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
Right. So we have so that's why we are actually the masters of the game, and we have a situation where we can actually lead the world in the right policy making, in right direction, in the two-wheeler, three-wheeler battery swapping or electrification. Because you have the Bajajs and the Mahindras and the TVS and the Piaggers of the world, who are actually the biggest in this game in the world. What Piaggio, what Mahindra, what Bajaj do here in India is the same thing that is replicated in Latin America, is the same thing that is replicated in Africa and in Far East, because these are very dominant players there. So what you do here in India, tomorrow you will be exporting it to all these markets,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So it's a huge export orientation as well for India when we do this here. So India, so that's why I think now the players, all these OEMs have also realized slowly and slowly that battery swapping is one of the key offerings. 1.5 years back, they were all on the periphery. They were thinking,
Right.
do we really need it? We will do the fixed battery. and CNG is good, and why
Right.
battery swapping. But I think last 18 months have been very we've seen a fundamental shift in the thought process as well, and everybody realizes that battery swapping has to be one of the key offerings. So everybody, all the OEMs will have all the offerings. They want to give customer all the offerings. Like when you sell your product, you have to have all the offerings. Not everybody likes one thing. So we'll have
Right.
a fixed battery, you will have a CNG, you will have a diesel, you have a swap offering.
Wow.
And in the swap offering, what is going to happen is swap is an infra play.
Right.
So let's say
Absolutely.
when one particular OEM decides to do swap, he will try and look out as to whether he wants to do it himself or he wants to go with a partner with a company which is very reputed.
Right.
Wanting to do it themselves is a very big, according to me, a very different ballgame altogether. Because let's say for them to do the entire infra play just for that particular model of their own is
Right.
the utilization will be very, very suboptimal. As against Sun Mobility, where I was telling you that I can use the same battery in multiple form factor with multiple OEMs, my utilization will be 8 to 10, 20 times of what anybody else with one single form factor and one single brand can do. So they
Right.
also understand that to do this across India, to set up a network, they will go with a battery swapping operator
Absolutely.
like Sun Mobility or somebody else tomorrow, and they will do the rest three within their own games. So I think this is how things will move out. So we are so personally very confident as we speak. So coming back to your original question, sorry, I went astray on battery swapping side. So in the last few months, we have seen the numbers. People are changing to electrification very fast.
Right.
All these gig work, all the fleet operators that we are talking to, they see the benefits right there, right? Because today ICE vehicle costs, let's say, 2 to 3 times more than a electric vehicle, right? So for them to switch, and when they're operating hundreds and thousands of vehicles fleet, for them this is a huge difference, right? Because it's all about for them per kilometer. And on top of that, when you get electric, you are able to track your vehicle without any issue. Right? There is a BMS in the vehicle, so all the fleet operators are very happy because you can track the vehicle very carefully. Then there is no issue about pilferage. You can't pilfer electric vehicle, right? You can't have any, so they don't worry about whether the driver is actually putting how much fuel has he put, was there any pilferage or any adulteration in the fuel, nothing. So there is no issue around the engine malfunctioning and all, because it doesn't have an engine. And to top it, when you ride an electric vehicle, and these guys who are riding it for 100 kilometers a day, there is no noise, there is nothing, it's very comfortable for them. On a health basis also, when some auto driver doing 100 kilometer without any noise, without any vibrations in his hand, actually is very healthy. As against when you ride a ICE vehicle or this thing which is very noisy, it's not good for your health. So once they have ridden this, they would not ever go back to a normal ICE vehicle or a CNG vehicle.
Very interesting, very interesting. I don't think so. A lot of people have realized this particular point on the health aspect as well, because I think the communication has always been around the upfront cost saving that you also talked about, the 40% cost saving that comes through, as well as on the pollution side of it. But this health point is actually very interesting. Just to follow up questions on the things that you mentioned. One on the mix, right? I think I completely agree, and I think it's coming through the stats as well that two-wheeler and the three-wheeler passenger segment is taking a lot more adoption, with overall growth rates being 100%. But on the car segment, we've seen that the growth rates has it's been a muted growth of sorts, with only 10% growth coming through. And you very specifically touched upon this point that the infra for battery swappable infrastructure on that side may be limited at this point of time. Do you see that as one of the key factors why we've not been able to see significant amount of growth outside, or any other reasons that may attribute to the same?
So on the car side, as I mentioned, passenger car segment is a very different animal altogether, right? So I was talking about battery swapping, that battery swapping for cars in India, I see still a distant future. We will be coming with battery swapping for buses and trucks, which is very much possible, and it's a commercial segment. But when you come to a electric car, it's an experience. It's not a commercial transaction alone, right? When you want to buy an electric car, it's not only about a commercial transaction. electric car has multiple other things as well, right? So it's a different thing. But having said this, I think in India you will see a very good uptake in the electric car uptake as well, but not in the battery swapping side. I think that will be still some time. But I am a firm believer that the cost, when Mahindra and Tata and everybody is getting into it, the cost will come down significantly, and the benefits are you the charge points across India. You will see mushrooming within 2-3 years. You will see a sea change, Gautam. You know, I sometimes tend to think that in 2000 or 1998, how many people had my mobile phones, right? But by
Right.
2005, it was not possible to see anybody without a mobile phone, right?
Absolutely.
The pace, the so you, I within next 4-5 years, you will see that these charge points across the city, across the highway, will be a very common theme. A lot of work is going on. The government is doing huge amount of work. People are getting into this to ensure there are charging stations across on the highways across the cities. A lot of tenders are being floated, and I think within 2-3 years, once that is being in place, getting an electric car is one of the best things that you would do.
Perfect. That sounds great. One follow-up question. I think we've touched upon this from specifically the government support standpoint. Given the recent commitments being made during the budget speech as well, with some 35,000 odd crores being allocated to energy transition or the net zero sort of a goal, and also extension of some of the basic custom duties, especially for the EV side of things on the subparts and all that. I think government has put in that impetus to push this further. So, do you think these are steps that's gonna actually help achieve the growth trajectory that we've been talking about?
Very critical and very essential, for any country to push this. First push has to come from the government and these policies, right? This is what happened in China. This is what happened in the Scandinavian countries when they gave a push for the electric vehicles, I think. So we are all taking those steps in the right direction. I think in terms of the subsidies that we are talking about, FAME 2 subsidies, and in terms of all the PLIs, the PLI schemes that are coming for making cells within the country.
Absolutely.
The talk about reduction in GST, the new battery swapping draft policy, all of these are in the right direction. And on top of that, you will see, Gautam, all the new tenders that are coming for the vehicles are mandatory electric vehicles. The state governments are buying, left, right, and center. They're coming with bus tenders for electric buses and all those things. And CESL working to say they will buy hundreds and thousands of e-autos. The Delhi government permit was a very good step in that direction to
Right.
get 4,500 auto permits in Delhi, electric autos. They have banned CNG autos and the diesel autos in the city, right? The new permits for them. Chandigarh very recently came that they will not be issuing any new permits, that there will only be electric autos and electric two-wheelers allowed in the city. So everybody, and you will see a flurry of this from all the states across, right? Everybody wants to get there. And I think there is a sense of urgency, there's a sense of purpose, there's a sense of, that we have to do the right thing, which I see across all the states and across all the stakeholders. So I'm very hopeful. And when we get to, when we talk to the authorities, we get a sense that they really want to make a change. So it makes me very happy. So I'm coming to India, Gautam, after a long time, and I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised with the professionalism, with the approach. We can all talk about what is not happening, but when we talk about what is happening, it's very heartening.
That's very good to hear. Actually.
You will be surprised. When I was looking at the e-loader data, the three-wheeler loader data, the
Right.
top 10 cities in India, right? You will see Delhi is selling more e-loader vehicles, electric vehicles, loader vehicles than the ICE vehicles. Chandigarh is selling more electric loader vehicles than ICE vehicles. Kolkata is selling more. Bangalore is selling more. So
Right.
so they are all going in the right direction almost. So I think Hyderabad has to do some catch up. I was a bit disappointed in Hyderabad numbers. I'm sure they will work as well, because we just heard today they are investing a lot in EV. Today there was an announcement from Tamil Nadu government as well that they will give
Absolutely.
battery swapping, first 200 battery swapping, 25% subsidies. Beautiful work.
Right, right. No, actually, some of this, what you've said is very interesting that not only center, but even state governments are taking significant measures to push this through. With Maharashtra, who used to be the consistent number one in terms of sales, UP has come in and taken over them. And now we're seeing some of the new state government policies coming out, pushing a lot of not even public sector entities to adopt more EVs, but also drafting policies to push this out for a lot of tech based and other entities for them to take these steps. So completely
Absolutely.
agree. I think there is a lot of push and well thought process machinery to it in terms of pushing this and
Yes.
specifically through.
Yes. So, if you think about it, so Sun Mobility was the first one. DMRC partnered with Sun Mobility. So DMRC, DTL, Delhi Transport Limited Corporation, and Sun Mobility came together to do first of its kind project in Delhi, where we deployed a station we started with Dwarka, and so these are feeder vehicles to the metro. So they are trying to even decongest all those places, the parking lots and all, and they're exhorting people to use electric vehicles. So they're saying over the next 3 years, 16,000 autos will be required, electric autos Delhi will deploy, so that people, when they go from their homes to metro, they can use an electric vehicle. They've already
Yeah.
started working on it. We have deployed close to 700 autos already. We are deploying 700 autos, and many more are coming. So the kind of work that is going on, the depth of work is very good.
Phenomenal to hear. Phenomenal to hear. Uh, Anant, I think we've very clearly established that the demand is there, the impetus is there. I think we've also touched upon that. Given the battery swap technology that you are putting in, there is a lot of upfront benefits that come through in terms of the cost saving up to 40%, uh, less pollution, of course, on the EV side, and also specifically on the health aspect, which actually came as a big surprise to me. And I think this will be very interesting for a lot of people to note. What are the other specific key drivers that you look at in terms of your business, in addition to the efficiency that we've touched upon? And if you could also give us some sense on the access to capital, because I think it is still something that becomes one of the key drivers as part of the business and taking it forward. Because, like you rightly mentioned, that it still needs a decent amount of investment on the R&D side as well to deliver the desired results and quality.
So, very good question, Gautam. So, what are the key parameters for us to make battery swapping successful? One of the most important things to ensure is a right density of swapping stations across key cities in India, right? And you have to be very careful that you plan it properly. So
Right.
we want to do it city by in a manner that whichever city we touch, we go deep in that city. You cannot just touch a city and leave it,
Right.
right? So you have to ensure that whichever city, you have to be careful that you choose the city wisely, and then you plan it properly and ensure that that city is properly populated with the right density of stations, so that people who have put faith in you, reposed faith in you to buy that vehicle, are not left high and dry. So for me, one of the most important things is to ensure right density of shopping network across the country. For that, the partnership ecosystem is very, very critical, right?
Mhm.
So you have to have. So we are very fortunate and very we have been very fortunate to have partners like IOCL, right, which is a beautiful network across the country, 30,000 stations at right location. Then we have partners with Bosch, right, which has 5,000 outlets in the country. Then when in Delhi alone, let's say we have partnered with all the three discoms: Tata Power, BSES, and Rajdhani Power. So, and then we partnered with DMRC and DTL. So you're working with the right set of people, right set of companies, to ensure that you have a good network where these swapping stations can be deployed. That's number one. Second is, you have to ensure that there's transparency in business, right? In the sense, we are very careful that what a customer experience is, that I'm only charging for the energy being used. I want to ensure that the customer, without 1 second of doubt in his mind, can say, okay, I'm going to swap and come. He should not be hesitant to swap. How we are achieving it, we are saying you can come and swap anytime. I'm not going to charge you for a transaction of doing the swap. I'm going to charge you for the energy that you consume. right? So if he brings in a cylinder, if that battery, which is 60% used only, so I'm only going to charge him for 60% of the energy used, not for the 100% that it was for the full. So
Oh, interesting.
he's very clear that if he has only used 20% of the energy, he will be charged for 20% from the wallet. That sort of a
Right.
transparency ensure that he is absolutely not unreluctant to go to a station whenever he needs it. Whenever he's passing a station, he can always think, okay, I can change the cylinder the battery right now because it's on my way. It takes less than 10 seconds or 20 seconds for a bike, less than 2 minutes, 3 minutes for a auto, less than 2 minutes for a e-rickshaw. So if it's on the way and he thinks that he can just do it without incurring any extra cost, very good. So I want to bring in that transparency in every my customer, that they can swap anytime. And third, and the most important metric for us, is safety. Safety is non-negotiable in the business we are in.
Right.
And I say it with a lot of electric business is all, if you remove safety part of it, Gautam, then you can do the business with 20% of capital. That's my belief. Right? You don't want to be safe, you can actually make a vehicle or battery with 30% of the cost that I. Once you start bringing in safety and all the things that are required to ensure that what you're giving is safe and sustainable, that's when the cost starts adding up. When the government now is coming with AIS phase 1 and phase 2, because before government came in with these regulations and this thing, every Tom, Dick and Harry wanted to be in EV business.
Right. Absolutely.
It's very easy. Yeah. Anybody can bring in parts from outside, assemble it, and here I'm selling an EV electric two-wheeler. Everybody was there. Are hundreds and hundreds of these people on the road doing that business, right? Now with these new regulations coming in, it will increase the cost significantly, but they will crowd out those people who are not serious. There's no quick money making. But it's also increased the cost, but it's very, very critical that this safety is brought in, right? And we have been practicing this from the day this company was put in place. 60 million kilometers, and I touch wood when I say this, 60 million kilometers, not a single accident for us. And it can happen. It's an industry. Actually, electric vehicles are less prone to accident. There are more fires in ICE vehicles than EVs. People don't realize it though. Right. But still, since it's a new industry, this is one thing we have to be very careful about, and we do a lot of work, Gautam, to ensure that we are safe. My biggest cost is around safety. My biggest effort is around safety to ensure that we are able to give a very safe solution to our customers, and that's one of our key parameters. It's a non-negotiable. It's a circuit breaker parameter.
No, that's very interesting. And I think some of these mandatory certifications that have been brought in, especially on the battery side, will go a long way in assuring the quality standards that are required to be maintained on that side as well. Okay, interesting. So, Anant, I think one last thing from my side. I think you've given us a good insight into not only the industry and the business model, but how do we see the future going forward. We did touch upon initially when we started that I think on the capital side of things, you've gotten strategic partners already very early into the journey, showing a lot of confidence. I think we at Vivriti also believe that this is one of the sectors that needs very specific lookout from the financial institutions to back them, and we at our end have a multi-product approach where we believe that not only on balance sheet funding which helps some of these entities grow, we also look at other sort of supporting instruments that are brought in the form of supply chain and leasing that come into the play, which provide various sort of helping in terms of growing or taking the company to the next level of growth. Do you see or do you have any specific things that you would want financial institutions to do more so that this any sort of growth journey that is being the trajectory remains maintained and you get faster access to all of this? That will be helpful in us to understand more.
I think financing plays a big role, right? And we are thankful to Vivriti for coming along as one of our first partners. Right? You were looking into the future when you decided to do this, and I think it's good. It's prescient of Vivriti to be looking like that. And Since Vivriti, we have seen a lot of traction. I think there are a lot of banks now, and very PSU banks also. They have shown keen interest, and we've closed financing with some of the big banks in the country. We are seeing a good traction and a good. I think people are getting educated about the things. I
Right.
think they're already understanding that this is one space that they really have to be. Also, I think there's a mandate from the top and from many other places. So that I think I'm seeing a good growth there. Where we do see a lot of potential is how we can work together. Let's say when we want to in supply chain side, right? A lot of working capital financing in terms of our purchases still is mostly from outside, right? From the when we're buying cells and all. So that's one thing that we are looking into, right? Second is on how can we help these people who are buying these e-rickshaws, who are doing the retrofitment of the autos, right? So let's say when we do a retrofitment of an auto, when you
Right.
do a take a so there are more than 6 million autos, these L5 autos. I'm not talking e-rickshaws,
Right.
autos on the road, right? After 5 6 years, when their engine goes bad, they either they one of the best things for them is to do a retrofit with a swap solution, right? We are doing that.
Right.
We are but that's almost 80 to 90,000 rupees, right? And which is a lot of money for them.
Right.
So we are finding it difficult to get them financed, right?
Mm.
And we are working on solutions where we are saying to the bank, to the financiers that when if this guy integrates with Sun Mobility, actually every time he swaps, you can
Right.
take the money, because
Oh, interesting.
right. So you
Mm.
can actually tie the entire scheme in a way that every swap there can be some money going to the lender, some money coming to Sun Mobility, and some money going to him for this thing. So it can be worked around in a way, and it can actually push electrification big way as well. Because there are many millions of these autos on the road which want to be retrofitted, but they don't have access to that capital. Same
Absolutely.
way, same way even for the e-rickshaw. But e-rickshaw, the money is very small. You're talking about 15,000 rupees there as against 85,000. But even that 15,000 rupees is a very big sum for them. But the same thing can be applied to them as well. Because
Right.
we control the battery, we control the tech, we control everything.
Right.
How can we work it out that we can get these people looped in, right? So I
Right.
think this is one thing and it's a huge market, Gautam, which can be
Right.
easily serviced, and that's what we are working on. This opens up a market where there's no dependency on any specific supplier or any specific OEM. This is a ready addressable market which can be converted on a daily basis without any issues. So
No,
yeah.
Anand, this sounds very interesting to us. And what you talked about in terms of taking something when the battery happens is exactly the thought process we have in terms of visibility on the cash flow of some sort, so that we clearly understand how the risk is also getting mitigated while this funding can be done upfront.
Really good.
Thank you. Thank you, Anand. Thank you for taking out the time. It's been a pleasure. And
Same here.
I think we look forward to having much more of these thoughtful engagements with you going forward.